even though we do this every single week pretty much, I love how we still waste 2 hours doing everything
I know.
except
I know. I
pod.
like woke up and I got your text message. I was like, okay, well, let me go eat some breakfast and then we'll get on and we'll be done by noon or whatever. Meanwhile, we're still here at 10:30, haven't done shit.
How we do. Professional.
We're BFFs. That's the problem.
Well,
That's the fatal flaw in this business model.
friendship.
The friendship. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Blair.
And I'm Kirsten, and we are
Mediocre content.
And I'm just going to give us a plug right this moment, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so as many of you may or may not know, so that's a lot of you in that context, we've started streaming, okay?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah,
It's fun.
I'm so glad that you think that it's fun. I'm so glad that it turned to be a good experience. Also.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was super fun.
However, that means people or person, I don't really know how many people listen anymore, but if you still do and you're interested, you can actually interact with us over there on Twitch. We stream every other Thursday because, life and time. But check our schedule, go on to Twitch. It's Mediocre Content Podcast, just like it is pretty much everywhere else. And you can look us up on Twitch. Our offline message has when we are going to be streaming, so you can catch up and figure it out and blah, 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 all of the details. But we'd love to have you over there. We'd love to talk to you in real time.
And so by the time this episode airs, we will be streaming. Well, this episode will come out on Tuesday, the 13th of June, and we will stream on the 15th.
Right.
So if you like this episode and want to ask us questions about it, come hang out on stream on Thursday.
We'd love to have you. Drop us a follow so you get the notifications. And there's also a link to our Discord on the About section of our Twitch page. That way you get all the live updates and announcements that we may have to put out from time to time. Shameless self-plug. I just wanted to put it out there immediately.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. And like, I still am trying to figure out how to use the Discord. So if you're not a Discord like pro, it's fine because I don't know what I'm doing. Kirsten is the one handling that. So
look, I have like just about as much experience as you do.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all set up and ready to go, and we'd love to have you.
# professional.
Absolutely. Just like this, right?
We are our own IT department, honestly.
Our own sponsors, our own IT department. Also, during our first stream, which was last week, we discussed with everybody merch. So actually, we'd love to know feedback on that. So if anybody is interested in MCP merch, or you would be interested in MCP merch, also kind of let us know. We're not thinking of doing this immediately.
I know. I was going to say it's a little early. Like only like 2 people listen to this, and
so
we had 5 people on stream, so it's a little early.
It's not something that we're anticipating doing right this moment. However, it did come up in the live stream, so we wanted to make sure to make a point. If you're ever interested, we already kind of have ideas on paper of something that could be potentially an option. So send us messages. We'd love to know.
Yeah, we'd love to know.
And that's all I have. Shameless.
I love it. No, that's good. We need to get that out because I couldn't keep in the wonderful experience of the Twitch stream on this pod. So and it works out because 2 days from now, when you guys are hearing this, we'll be streaming. So it's fun.
Oh, right. 6 p.m. EST, 3 p.m. PST. I don't know if I said that or not.
Yeah.
We'll just capitalize on it.
Yeah. And we're usually like, I know our episodes are usually about an hour, but like sometimes like the last stream was almost 2 hours, I think. So it takes a little bit longer because we're like, interacting and just goofing off in general. So come hang out. It'll be a good time. If you don't get there right at, 3 or 6, depending on where you are, or like some other unknown time frame that you might be in,
right?
Then just know that we'll probably still be there when you get around to it. So, and we're going to try and record them and put them on YouTube maybe. Last time it didn't really work out, but we're going to try and fix that. So,
yeah, that was completely my bad. Which
it's
is a
okay.
shame because on my own channel, I made the same mistake, figured out what the mistake was, and then decided to do it again. So here we are. Professional.
Totally okay. Totally fine. We are our own IT department. So really, we just have to reconcile that with ourselves, reprimand ourselves for our mistake, and then move on.
It's great.
We are our own HR department as well. So we've got it nailed
Are
down.
you indicating that I am both my problem and my solution?
That is correct.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, that is correct.
Anyways,
all right.
Disclaimer away.
Disclaimer. So, this lovely episode is going to be another one about planets. So NASA will be a big influence on this, but you know, we don't know everything. This information by the time you listen to this podcast, which could be many, many moons from now.
Nice.
You
I appreciated that.
I didn't even do that on purpose. It just kind of like came out
beautiful.
So you know, this information is subject to change. We don't know everything. You know, we did not go to school for this. This is just a topic that we're interested in. We hope you're interested in too.
Yeah.
So, we encourage you to, you know, fact check us and do your own research and have a great time. And this will be a fun episode. So, with that, I'm going to take us into the good news.
Let's go.
I have two lovely stories for you guys this week. So the first one is my favorite one, and it is a 72-year-old lady married herself, and it's a vibe. That's what I called it.
Awesome. What the heck?
So her name is Dorothy. She goes by Dottie, which is so cute. And she walked down the aisle this past weekend to celebrate her love for someone who has been there for her through thick and thin, aka herself. A vibe.
Stinking cute.
So, she's 72. I said, or 77. I thought she was 72. My bad.
Even more.
So she's 77 and a resident of the Obannon Terrace retirement community in Goshen, Ohio. And if that's not the most Ohio sounding town,
honestly,
ever,
it is the most Ohio sounding town. As someone who's been to Ohio.
Yeah, honestly. So she lives there, and she married herself on May 13th in an emotional and symbolic ceremony surrounded by her neighbors, friends, and family. And a quote from her from the article, she says, "You know what? I've done everything else. Why not? I'm going to go marry myself." What a beautiful thing. Beautiful. Was
she married previously?
We'll get there. Okay. We'll get there. I have the tea. I have the tea. Don't worry. So the property manager of the retirement home performed the ceremony. And as soon as she told the property manager like what she wanted to do, he was so excited and jumped at the chance to honor her, because she has always brought so much joy to everyone else in the retirement home, which is so beautiful. Her daughter, Donna, also loved the idea of throwing her mother a solo wedding and did all the cooking and decorated the community room of the retirement home. They did a balloon arch, and there was a 2-tiered cake it was white cake decorated with red roses. And there was heart-shaped cookies and finger sandwiches in the shape of wedding bells.
I feel like her solo wedding is rivaling my real wedding.
I know.
Retirement home version.
So she wore a white dress with sheer long sleeves and floral detailing, as well as a silver belt and a veil with an embellished headband.
Let's see.
Very nice. So she was married in 1965, but never had a formal wedding. She said her and her ex-husband exchanged vows at the Justice of the Peace. And then right after the ceremony, he went to work and she went home. She also wore a black dress on this day, which she admitted basically meant they were doomed from the start.
Holy cow. And notice that she didn't say former or what's the word when they pass or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
it's X.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Dang.
Yeah. So anyway, she always wished she could have a big wedding, but thought that it was too late for her. And she couldn't. So, and obviously that's not true. Her daughter
Right.
made things happen, and she couldn't thank her daughter enough for making her dreams come true. She's overcome a lot in her life. She taught herself how to read a few years ago. So she did not know how to read until
Oh,
she was like,
crap.
what, 74?
Wow.
So after a lifetime devoted to others, she's focusing on cherishing herself and pursuing her own dreams. Um, so yeah, she says, I'm at the point in my life where it's about me now. My kids are all good. My grandkids, one of them's about to have a baby, and I have a set of triplets that all graduated from college. So it's my turn to do what I want to do.
Oh, that's kind of sad and happy at the same
We
time.
applaud.
We
We
applaud.
applaud. We
Yes,
applaud a queen.
absolutely. Wow, what a freaking story.
I know.
I love that.
It was so beautiful. I
Beautiful.
she, you know what? Ladies, it is never too late to prioritize yourself.
Never. Absolutely. Self-care is so important, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
slept on even now when it's like a mainstream word that people say like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's self-care." No, it really is.
Yeah.
Like
You
you should
like
take care of yourself
take care of yourself, focus on you, take time for you. It's important.
because
Don't wait
everybody
until
else
you're
is.
77 to have your solo wedding.
Exactly. If you want it, take it.
That's it. That's it. All right. So this is another lovely story. Oh, okay. I see where I got the 72 from. Okay. So basically, this is what I called this article. Old guy graduates from college, proving it's never too old. You're never too old to learn something.
Fair.
Okay. So, more than 50 years after graduating high school, a 72-year-old recently earned an undergraduate degree and turned his tassel. On May 11th, Sam Kaplan became the first of his 7 siblings to earn a bachelor's degree after receiving his diploma in cinema and media arts from Georgia Gwinnett College in Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Hmm.
According to the local NBC station, Kaplan's 99-year-old mother cheered on her son from the crowd as he crossed the stage for his graduation ceremony. She last saw her son in an academic setting in 1969 when he graduated high school. In the decades after, Kaplan crisscrossed careers. According to his college's news release, he ran a cleaning service, a telemarketing company, also worked as a taxi driver and in customer service for electronic wholesale distribution.
Man of many trades.
Indeed. Kaplan's college also revealed that the septuagenarian
That's a hard word.
decided to enroll in school again for the first time when he was 68 years old.
Wow.
Apparently, he was like driving down the road and saw that they were offering a degree like on a billboard or something,
Mm-hmm.
and basically just signed up that day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Talk about spur of the moment. That's
right.
awesome.
Despite his maturity, jumping back into the classroom setting after so many decades wasn't necessarily like riding a bicycle.
Fair.
The father of 5 had to learn how to study all over again, and in the early days of becoming a student, felt the jitters of fitting in with his classmates,
Oh.
students that were 50 years his senior,
Oh.
or 50 years his junior, I think is the
His
correct
junior.
term for
Yeah,
that.
he's
Yeah.
50 years their senior.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
To make the leap, Kaplan set out to meet a daily quota. Every day, he would approach a new student with the intention of learning something more about their academic goals and dreams for the future.
That's so precious. Oh my God.
The associate professor of film at Georgia Gwinnett College taught Kaplan for some of his classes and expressed her excitement for his academic achievements. Quote, Sam was always willing to share photos and stories about his interesting life and his family. We're so proud to see him graduate, and we will miss him. No doubt, Kaplan has left a mark on his college. In the video of the ceremony, the applause from his graduating class swelled to a high level as he received his diploma with a proud smile.
That is literally the cutest thing I've ever seen and
I
heard.
know. Isn't it so cute?
I love stories like that. And also, it's completely true. You, even with the previous good news, like with a sweet little old lady who's doing her solo wedding, like, y'all,
Mm-hmm.
it is never too late to prioritize yourself.
And it's never too late to pivot. Like, do what you want to
Right.
do. Like,
Yes.
don't feel like you can't do it because of X, Y, and Z. Like, no,
Right.
you can.
Don't feel
It's
trapped.
okay.
This is a
Yeah,
free world simulation. You can change course at any time.
exactly. Exactly.
Oh, I love those. That I'm also super happy. Not that I don't love science or anything, but I'm also super excited to see non-science good news, I guess.
I
We give it
would
to ourselves.
I would just like to tell you that I am making a valiant effort to not make anything that I'm doing for this podcast about science because you bring so much
I'm
science to the
so sorry.
table. And we no, but we love that about you. We
Uh,
love that you are our science queen.
oh,
Um but I need to create balance in the
that's
force.
fair.
You know what I
No,
mean? I
use that
need
force. It's
yeah.
beautiful. I feel
Yeah.
like Miss Frizzle every time we pop in here.
You low key are, my dude. I saw a thing the other day on Instagram, I think, and it was like, what if that stomach pain was Miss Frizzle bumping up against your colon?
Bro,
Like,
Miss Frizzle,
oh
get
my
out of
God.
here. You do think about
Wild.
it.
Oh God.
Okay. Well, instead of a school bus, we're gonna take a magic spaceship and we're gonna head out into the galaxy.
I love that we're on Jupiter now because I
Right?
feel like Jupiter is like a main character planet.
Honestly, they kind of are. And also Jupiter, not to get astrological, but Jupiter is my planet as a Sagittarian. So this is super close to home for me.
Now I need to know what my planet is. Hold on one minute.
What's my planet? Captain Planet. He's a hero.
Oh my God.
What was it? Something Felicia
Childhood memory
Zero?
unlocked. Oh my
Miss Frizzle
God.
to Captain Planet. Science. Now you know this
The
cartoons I was watching.
she was she yes.
I was on
I
the science scene
no
so
words.
early.
Yeah, you started young in your science journey.
Did.
I did have my first grade teacher though, did like have to tell me, like, why don't you check out some books that are not nonfiction? And I was like,
What
ma'am,
a
I like the frog books. I don't know what to tell you.
excuse me, I'm here for the facts.
I, she's like, why don't you try checking out something that's a little bit not science? And I was like,
Girl,
yes, ma'am, I'll
I'm not
try.
I don't want to sit here in my imagination. Ugh.
Okay, so apparently my planet is the sun, which
That makes
like
sense because you're a
low
Leo.
key, yeah, low key makes sense. And Leo's defining traits are everything revolves around me,
I
which
guess I'll
is
have to add the sun to our list then.
oh, okay. We
I'll
could do
add the
that.
sun. We'll do it after. We'll do all the planets. Earth is going to be the last one, ironically, and then we'll do the sun, and then we'll
Okay.
close it out.
This sun, a flaming gas ball.
Blair, do you have something to tell me? It's kind of topical because this is also a gas ball that we're going to talk about today. So we're both a little gassy.
A lot of planets are gas balls, to be honest.
This is perfect. Does it smell in here? Or is it just Jupiter?
Mm. Nobody have any flaming hot Cheetos, okay?
Oh God, those are my favorite.
So good.
Any hoodle.
Meanwhile, she has diverticulitis.
Meanwhile, my gut is just gonna explode. It's topical. Besides my GI issues, however, Jupiter is great. Okay, it's the fifth planet from the sun, and it is also by far the largest planet in our solar system. Now, notice I said solar system. It is not the largest planet in every galaxy, but it is the biggest one that we are next to. So I feel like it's still appropriate to say.
Question for those of us who are not as planet savvy.
Mm.
Do we know planets in other galaxies?
So many.
Okay.
And
I figured that was the case, but I just
so
wanted to
many.
confirm.
Also, I don't know if there's a way to search it, but I get a lot of planet info on my TikTok, as you may guess. And there's this one thing that shows comparisons up through a black hole in terms of size, and it will actually show you some of the other planets that we've discovered that are significantly bigger even than our sun. Okay. So scale, they are huge.
Well, and I've seen some of those TikToks where it's just like a constant zoom out of like Earth to sun to universe to like whatever. It's
exactly
wild.
It is wild. So Jupiter's huge. It's about twice as massive as all of the other planets in our solar system combined. But it is not the biggest, which is horrifying existentially to think about. But we're not going to think about it too hard.
I personally love to see things that are bigger than me because it makes me feel comfortable in the fact that I am not a significant part of this universe.
You're like, oh, I didn't get up before noon today. It doesn't matter. Jupiter's the
It's
size
fine.
of like 3-4 planets in the solar
Yes.
system.
Yes. Yeah.
Comparison is wild.
Yeah.
Okay. The origin of Jupiter's name is actually from the king of the ancient Roman god, Jupiter. So that's cool.
Mhm.
Literally just
Mhm.
stole the name. Distance from the sun, we're talking about 460 million miles, just about, or 741 million kilometers. I'm sorry, make sure I
Just
say that right.
741
Just
kilometers.
741.
Just 741. It's not that far, you guys.
It's
You really
could
like
pad
we could
it.
it takes a couple days. It's fine.
Yeah, just cruise it on over.
It's really not that far.
It's one-way light time to the sun. Again, I say this every week. It's just how long it takes for the sun to reach the planet, so the light. It's about 41 minutes, so almost an hour before the sunlight will hit the planet. It's interesting. You know, we talked about Venus and how it's spinning backwards. Jupiter is also a little bit different in that it's one day is about 10 hours, but its length of 1 year is 11 Earth years. Insanely different, I would say.
I would say. Definitely.
In Earth days, it's about 4,000 Earth days. Still huge.
Ugh.
Like we were discussing, it is a gas giant. So instead of terrestrial, which is what all the planets have been up through this point, this is our first gassy planet. So she's a little smelly, but that's okay. We're going to go over why that is. And
just to clarify, I don't think there's an actual smell. I just don't want anyone to think that like
Jupiter stinks. No, it's not physically.
I want to make
smelly.
sure everyone's on the same page there.
There's not like Earth is standing next to it going, ugh, gross.
Girl, take some Gas X.
It's not like that at all. It's like there's a whole reason. Okay.
Yeah.
She's mostly gas and liquid, which is what people would say about me as well. This is also the first planet we've encountered that has rings. We discussed with Mars that eventually at some point Mars may have rings due to Phobos smashing into it dramatically. But this kind of already happened to Jupiter. So discovered in 1979 by NASA's Voyager 1, which is a spacecraft that we threw out into the universe, Jupiter's rings were a surprise. They are composed of small, dark particles and are difficult to see except when they're backlit by the sun. Data from the Galileo spacecraft indicated that Jupiter's rings may be formed by dust kicked up by interplanetary meteoroids smashing into the giant planet's innermost moons. So we were also about to talk about how insane Jupiter's moons are as well. If you thought the ring was a surprise, imagine it's 80 moons. Just kind
80.
of 80. Some of them don't even have names. This is insanity to me. So, like Mars. Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're
I
fine.
wonder what the criteria for like, I guess if it's a moon, that means it's rotating around the planet.
Right.
Consistently. Because technically a moon is just a large chunk of rock. Right?
It's orbiting around instead of, I think ring is just kind of like suspended.
Okay.
Around is I don't know if that's the real definition. And I also don't know if there's like a size, like it has to be of a certain size and orbiting to be considered a moon. Whatever the criteria, 80 of them met it.
Yeah.
Which is,
I'm curious because like what differentiates like a large chunk of rock from a moon and like why do they get preference? I don't know. But anyway.
Something to research though. It's a fair question.
Yeah.
Of those 80, there are 4 large ones that are considered the main ones.
The main host. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right? I don't know if I'm going to pronounce the first one correctly. It's literally Io, like Io. That's it. Ow. So, ow, I don't know. Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. And Jupiter forms its kind of own miniature solar system as a result. So it's kind of like a planet with a solar system in the it's a solar systemception. It's a lot.
Yeah.
There are 57 moons that have been given official names, even though we didn't just list them. I'm not going to list all of them. The 4 main ones you've been provided. So enjoy.
Okay.
However, there's also obviously 23 who are now awaiting names. So sounds like they're in progress. It's still happening. And this is done by the International Astronomical Union, because nomical is naming. So they name everything.
Astronomical.
The largest 4 moons were first observed by astronomer. It's like synonym. Yeah. Galileo Galilei, which we've heard that name before on the pod in this series. And this was in 1610. So just kind of let that sink in. Using an early version of the telescope, these 4 moons are known today as the Galilean satellites, and they're some of the most fascinating destinations in the solar system for these reasons. So, Io is the most volcanically active body in the entire solar system, and it's just a moon rolling around Jupiter. Ganymede is the largest moon in the solar system, so comparative to even planet Mercury, it is the largest moon.
Okay, I have big thoughts.
Ooh, okay, ready.
So Ganymede is the largest moon and it's bigger than Mercury. But then but it's not a planet. Correct. So then what is Pluto? Why is Pluto, like, in comparison to that, like, why is Pluto a dwarf planet? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know the sizes compare, like Mercury, Pluto, and then this moon. But my initial thought is because instead of Ganymede orbiting the sun as its own entity, it's orbiting another planet within the system.
All right.
Which is a little bit different. You know what I mean?
I was about to get really upset, but I think you're right.
I think it's because it's not orbiting the sun. It's not orbiting a central star like Pluto is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I would say.
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
You're right.
Don't get up. It's okay. I got you.
I just, the whole Pluto being a dwarf planet, it's a sensitive subject.
It is sensitive. And don't worry. Listen, we are still talking about Pluto. It is still a millennial planet. Okay.
It is.
So
I learned it in 6th grade. It's a planet.
And it is forever. Okay. Callisto. Very few small craters indicate a small degree of current surface activity. Insanity. And then a liquid water ocean with the ingredients for life may lie beneath the frozen crust of Europa, making it a tempting place to explore. So these moons are huge in terms of size, but also huge in terms of possibility of exploration, and the potential for what we might find on there is pretty interesting. Obviously, we haven't done a whole lot. We don't know everything there is to know like we did in the Mars series, but it's promising. There are a couple problems with trying to explore Jupiter, and we're going to talk about that in the What He Looked Like section.
What he looked like, though.
What he looked like, though. As always, we're going to start with the radius. Just times it by 2 if you want the dang diameter. I say it every time. That's about 43,000 miles or 69,000 kilometers, which is 11 times wider than Earth, for reference. As far as its rotation / orbit, its equator is kind of tilted with respect to its orbital path around the sun by just 3 degrees, which means that Jupiter spins almost completely upright and does not have seasons as nearly as extreme as some of our other planets that we've explored do.
That's good.
So again, the tilt has a lot to do with seasonality, and that's why we have all the amazing ones that we do in certain parts of the world. Structure-wise, Jupiter doesn't really have a surface, and this is why it's considered a gas giant. It is mostly gases and liquids. You will see the swirls and stripes across Jupiter. If you look at any of the photographs, it has like bands kind of going around it.
Mhm.
And it's actually cold, windy clouds made of ammonia and water that are floating in an atmosphere of hydrogen and helium. Um, it also has something quite iconic about it called the Great Red Spot, which is just a giant storm bigger than the planet Earth. And it has been raging on planet Jupiter for hundreds of years. And it is something that is still like we know some things about it, but it's still kind of a mystery. We're going to talk a little bit more about it when we get to the weather part of this.
Wow.
Surface temperature can be negative 160 degrees Fahrenheit at the actual kind of surface, but again, it doesn't really have one. It's about 110 degrees negative
So it's
Celsius.
chilly.
It is quite chilly. Deep in the atmosphere, pressure and temperature will start to increase, which compresses that hydrogen gas into the liquid that we were talking about. This gives Jupiter the largest ocean in the solar system. An ocean made of hydrogen, though, not water, which is not great for human life, if I had to say.
I don't like that.
Liquid hydrogen ocean. How neat.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
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 Potential
Yikes.
for life. We'll talk about that too. Scientists think that at depths, perhaps halfway to the planet's center, the pressure becomes so great that electrons are squeezed off the hydrogen atoms, making the liquid electrically conducting like metal. Your face.
Everything I know is a lie.
Well,
Like,
what do you mean?
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. It's just
Existential
the
crisis.
thinking of hydrogen in its
Yes.
liquid form also being like metal in a conductive aspect is
Yeah.
crazy pants.
It gets worse.
Keep going.
Strap in, put them crazy pants right back on. Jupiter's fast rotation is thought to drive electrical currents in that region, generating the planet's most powerful magnetosphere, also known as Jupiter's magnetosphere. It's so large that it's just called Jupiter's. Which is great time because that means we have no idea what's really deeper down because we don't have any space equipment as far as I
that
know at
can
this
get
moment
through
that
the
can do
magnetic
that.
field.
Yeah, that
Wow.
is so dense with electrolyzed hydrogen water.
Man.
We can live there. That's totally acceptable.
I
Are you
don't
okay?
know. I'm like trying to think on like how we could potentially like capitalize on the magnetic field because I
Fair.
think that there's like potential
Yeah.
to like use that resource for something, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't really, I mean, sorry, my cat. Jinxie, do you want a podcast?
He's like, you seem a little stressed.
I sense you needed me.
Ask and I shall appear. No, that's a fair point. At some point it's just getting information, but I agree that if there's a way, I feel like we're smart enough to find it, especially since we already know clearly how it works to a point. Like we know what's happening scientifically and chemically, which I think is a feat in and of itself, honestly, with all that chaos going on. However, it is still so unclear what is deeper down into this magnetosphere because again, it doesn't even have like a true surface to it in the physical sense. But we do believe that Jupiter has a central core of solid material, or it could be a thick kind of hot, dense Jupiter soup is what they're describing it as.
Cute.
Yeah.
Good soup, as they say on TikTok.
Yeah. Because we just discussed the surface temperature of being in the negative like 160 degree Fahrenheit range. That core, that solid soupy material could be upwards of 90,000 degree Fahrenheit in the positive. mostly made of iron and silicate materials that are a little bit like quartz in their structure. So got that really stinking chilly cold magnetosphere happening around the hydrogen water, and then that core is just like molten quartz soup.
Interesting.
Great.
So it's basically just like a gassy ball.
It's exactly what it is. A gassy ball of
with
magnets.
some lava, some what is it? Chocolate lava in the middle.
Yeah. Good soup.
Good soup.
Okay. I promised weather. I'm here with the weather. Back to Kirsten with the weather.
Back to Kirsten with the weather.
Okay, we're going to talk about weather in zones. As you might imagine, then Jupiter is kind of stormy, and it has tons of really prevailing winds across the planet that can reach upwards of 335 miles an hour. And this is about 539 kilometers per hour. And this is mostly centralized at Jupiter's equator. As we discussed, the Great Red Spot is kind of a big deal in all of this because
that is a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal. It has a depth of about 300 miles or 500 kilometers, which is below the cloud tops that you'll see around the planet. And more recently, there is thought to be smaller, three small ovals merged to form the Little Red Spot, which is about half the size of its larger cousin. So there's more forming, which is interesting. Finding from NASA's Juno probe, released in October of 2021, provide a fuller picture of kind of what's going on below the clouds. Data from Juno shows that Jupiter's cyclones, take the moment to think about what a cyclone is, are warmer on top with lower atmospheric densities, while they are colder at the bottom with obviously then higher atmospheric densities.
Not to be confused with cyclopses, which is very different.
Very different thing. There are no cyclopses on Jupiter, as far as we know. However, counterly, there's also anticyclones swirling around Jupiter, which is the exact opposite of all of that. So opposite rotation, colder at top, warmer at bottom, those kinds of things. So they have both, which either way, not a great thing.
Right.
The findings also indicate that these storms are far taller than expected. I'm not 100% sure how tall some of those like cloud walls and stuff can be, you know, when we see out west and stuff like that in the States where, you know, we've got these giant storms and tornado producing storms. Those cloud walls are miles high in some cases. So take that information. Some of the storms on Jupiter can extend up to 60 miles, which is 100 kilometers high, but they are below the cloud tops, and others, including the Great Red Spot, can extend even more than that to 200 miles or 350 kilometers tall. So that is huge. That is massive.
Yeah. Did you say 200 or 2,000?
200.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 200
Got
miles.
It. Got it. Okay.
This surprising discovery demonstrates that the vortices cover regions beyond those where water condenses and clouds form, below the depth where sunlight warms the atmosphere. So there's a lot of information happening there. Basically, the storms are massive, and we can see one of them quite clearly from where we are.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah. Okay, and kind of the last thing I want to touch on that's still related to those bands and like the red spot and the storms, belts and zones. So in addition to cyclones and anticyclones, Jupiter is known for having distinctive belts and zones. And these are the white and reddish bands of clouds that wrap around the planet, again, that you're going to see. Strong east to west winds moving in opposite directions will separate those bands. And Juno, again, that's that probe that was sent out October 2021, previously discovers that winds or jet streams can reach depths of about 2,000 miles, which is roughly 3,200 kilometers. And researchers are still trying to solve the mystery of how the jet streams themselves are forming. Data collected by Juno during the multiple passes reveal one possible clue, however, that the atmosphere's ammonia gas, which is also horrifying to think about, travels up and down in remarkable alignment with the observed jet streams. Juno's data also shows that the belts and zones undergo a transition around 40 miles or 65 kilometers beneath Jupiter's water clouds. Weird. And at shallow depths, Jupiter's belts are brighter in microwave light than the neighboring zones. And no, we're not putting Jupiter in the microwave as well. You don't have to worry. Microwave is just the name of the actual wave.
Only Mercury in the microwave.
Mercury. We can't handle another planet in the microwave. But at deeper levels below the water clouds, the opposite is true, which reveals a similarity to our oceans, which is probably the most interesting fact out of that entire spiel. But I wanted to include it because in the second half, we're going to talk about briefly the potential for life. Because as you can imagine, on Jupiter at least, not looking great.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing a lot of very familiar elements, I feel, but they're all like wrong. They're not like hydrogen is liquid and nobody wants that.
And electric.
And right.
It's electric.
Oh God.
Not in a good way, that's for sure. But we'll tackle all of that in the second half. Are you ready for a break?
I definitely am ready for a break.
All right. We'll see you in the second half, guys.
Bye.
Man, I'm glad this podcast is halfway over.
Me too. I'm not sure I'm even going to make it through the second half at this rate.
It's a good thing they call this mediocre content. That way the public knows what they're signing up for before they even start listening.
I feel like the listener deserves a more direct warning about the true mediocrity of this podcast.
Agree. Let's send them into the second half with a real disclaimer.
Mediocre content is far more mediocre than you think. If you think that's what's good for you, you listen at your own risk and moderation. We, the husbands of the mediocre content podcast hosts, do not recommend you listen to our wives week after week and instead suggest small regular doses of their mediocrity at any given time. We should know. We live with them. All mediocre content podcast listening is at your own risk. Good luck.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to be talking about the potential for life on this electric planet.
It's electric. Do, 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 do.
Just carry that over. I like it. Okay, so I feel like the first half kind of answered the initial question. I'm not going to lie. Jupiter has a lot going on, and obviously environmentally wise, not that conducive for life as we currently know it.
Not great.
Not great. Between the temperatures, the pressures, materials that characterize the planet in their extremest of states and their most volatile, organisms can't really adapt to that. It's just too, even extremophiles, which we've also talked about before. I forget what planet. Was it Venus?
I believe, honestly, I think it was Mercury.
Okay, maybe. So
yeah,
there are situations, right, where organisms, even on planet Earth or other planets called extremophiles, can live in some extreme conditions.
Correct.
However, Jupiter is so unhinged that there's no chance for that. It's just crazy.
She is unhinged.
However, while planet Jupiter is unlikely to have places for us to live on it, the same cannot be said for its moons. Because as we've already discussed, at least two of them have potential. The last two, Callisto and what was the other one again?
Callisto and Europa.
Okay, yes, Europa. Those two have potential. And the evidence is just based on the vast ocean that's currently beneath Europa's icy crust. Could be supported. And then as far as Callisto, we're still kind of looking into it. Again, we also don't know trajectory. So we talked about Mars and how Phobos is eventually at some point going to just collide dramatically with Mars, which is kind of a big deal if you ever did have life on there. So the other thing is, how stable in orbit are these moons? Are they all on the same path? Was there a chance they'll ever collide? Because there's so many of them, and even though Jupiter is huge, it has a ring belt as well. So there's other kind of obstacles that you have to think about when you're considering how logical would it be,
right,
based on these criteria, and not just planet criteria, but its movement criteria. So that's kind of the spiel for potential for life. Jupiter, no. Moons, maybe. Not sure yet.
Yeah. So my question, because you said Jupiter's year is like 11 Earth years, right? So
Mhm.
like if you're on the moon, if you're on one of their moons,
Right.
it's probably gonna be a lot like the just
It's
I mean
long.
it's livable, right? Like
Right.
they made blackout curtains and all that, but like it's kind of
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
As
because
in
you're
terms
gonna
of like the circadian rhythm that humans naturally have, I feel like it's not gonna be
insanity.
good.
And
Yeah.
you have to think that like split that in half and now you're behind with zero potential sunlight for an
Right.
extended amount of time as well.
Right. For
Yeah.
11 years.
For
And like
11
the thing
years.
is, it's giving me interstellar vibes where they go into the hyperbaric chamber or whatever and like
Yeah.
conserve themselves for 11 years and then they lose all this time on Earth and it's
Yep.
just it's it's not giving.
Same but different. It's
Hmm.
exactly the same kind of concept. So
Yeah.
yeah, even on the moon, again, it all depends on that trajectory, because while Jupiter is circulating at a certain rate, how fast are the moons circulating around Jupiter?
Right.
There's not a whole lot of, not that I'm aware of, there's not a lot of data on that.
Yeah.
So you're right. There's some some circadian rhythm issues.
Indeed.
Formation. So Jupiter took shape when the rest of the solar system formed about 4.5 billion years ago, and this is when gravity pulled that swirling gas and dust to become what it currently is, which is the gas giant. Jupiter took most of the mass left over after the formation of the sun, ending up with more than twice the combined material of the other bodies in the solar system. In fact, Jupiter has the same ingredients as the sun, but it just did not grow as massive enough to ignite like the sun did. So has all the properties it would need to essentially become its own sun, hence its own personal solar system. It just didn't evolve the same that our sun did.
Yes.
So,
Got it.
could have had double sun, but that's fine. Can you imagine? We'd be cooked.
Double suns. Isn't
Double
that
sun.
is it two moons on Tatooine or two suns? I think it's two suns. It's like Star Wars.
Oh, I don't know. You're asking the
Yeah.
wrong girl.
I know. I have my toe in some Star Wars things. Like I know what's going on.
Get your toes out of Star Wars. They didn't ask for that.
Feet pics. Anyway,
Ew.
moving on.
Ew. As you can imagine.
Coming soon.
No,
OnlyFans,
absolutely
feet pics,
not.
mediocre content feet pics.
This is not the merch I was talking about. Absolutely not. And certainly not for free. Exploration. So Jupiter's difficult. Obviously, we've given you tons of reasons to not think otherwise. But we do want to kind of highlight a couple of significant events that have occurred, obviously, because they tell us what we currently know, and that's important. So 1610, we've already talked about it. Galileo makes the first detailed observation of the planet in general. Still conceivably difficult for my mind to wrap around 1610, and as far as planets and space goes, I guess.
They really
Concept
be
is
out here with some telescopes and just naming things. I don't
really, just for funsies. I'm thankful for them. And that's a good point. This is a little side tangent, so I apologize. I don't like how a lot of in general people assume that there's like inferiority with like older cultures when they're doing science and things like that, and like what they're observing and things, because a lot of our knowledge that we have was captured by them and calculated by them. So also, like, just be mindful, even though it's 1610 and it's hard to wrap even my mind around it. These were extremely intelligent individuals who could get things down quite precisely in terms of mathematical equations and build things that were immense. So inferior? Absolutely not. We just know more and have more technology now.
Well, and I think a lot of times, like, they had the information, they just interpreted it wrong because they didn't have the tools.
Exactly.
So it's not that they were wrong. I mean,
it's
sometimes
science.
they
You
were
just learn
wrong,
new.
but but they like they were gathering the correct information, I guess.
Exactly. They just didn't know what to do with it all the time. And that's fair.
I just
that's
licked
pretty
my
valid.
microphone by accident when I was
Ew,
talking. It was
what?
not fun. Blech.
Hopefully it tasted good.
No.
Gross. Hopefully nobody heard it.
All right, moving on.
Moving on. It's a big jump. So from 1610, we go to 1973. That's the next documentation of anything surrounding Jupiter. Also hard to conceive. Pioneer 10 becomes the first spacecraft to cross the asteroid belt, which, by the way, is between Mars and Jupiter. Just wanted to kind of put that out there. There is a huge asteroid belt between Mars and the rest of the planets in our solar system. And
Thank
even
you.
then, sorry, there's also another one further out, which we'll talk about as well. So we have two kind of rings of material. I just want to be very clear.
For that refresher, because I definitely needed that, because I knew that there was an asteroid belt. I just didn't know where they were.
Yeah. So the first one is between Mars and Jupiter. So you have to get through. That's the other obstacle. So as if Jupiter wasn't difficult enough, you also have to get whatever spacecraft is going out there at least through the first one, and you don't know what it's going to encounter, how large some of these pieces are. It's massive. And if you have to go out even further than that to something like Pluto, now you have to get through 2. So context, crazy. So Pioneer 10 was the first one to cross the belt, and then it flew past Jupiter and just kept going. So it just, said hi and bye and just kept on going. 1979, Voyager 1 and 2 discovered Jupiter's faint rings, which is why we know that they're there, and then several new moons, as well as volcanic activity on Io's surface, which we discussed earlier. 1992, Ulysses swung by Jupiter on February 8th, 1992. The giant planet's gravity bent the spacecraft's flight path southward and then away from the ecliptic plane, putting the probe into a final orbit, SAG, that would take it over the sun's south and north poles. So it yeeted that thing.
Wow.
It said, absolutely not. You take your butt right back home and get out.
So moody.
I know, it's extreme. I guess he is the king of the Roman gods, so it kind of fits.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Makes sense.
1994, astronomers.
Astronomers.
I just don't care. Astronomers observe as pieces of comet Shoemaker-Levy 9 collide with Jupiter's southern hemisphere. So had a comet, ran right into the planet, and apparently that was significant enough for us to record it in 1994 because we just saw it happen. 1995 to 2003, the Galileo spacecraft dropped a probe into Jupiter's atmosphere to conduct extended observations of Jupiter and its moons and rings. That's all they had. I have no idea if that was successful or not, or how much data was returned. In the 2000, specifically, so it's still within that time frame that they just discussed, Cassini makes its closest approach to Jupiter at a distance of approximately 6.2 million miles, 10 million kilometers, taking a highly detailed true color mosaic photo of the gas giant. So if you see the pictures, it's huge, and it probably originally came from Cassini, which is really fun.
Cool.
2007, images taken by NASA's New Horizons spacecraft on the way to Pluto, fun times, show new perspectives on Jupiter's atmospheric storms, the rings, volcanic Io, and icy Europa. So it kind of covered a lot in its transition. 2009, on 20 July, they do the dates like Europe. Almost exactly 15 years after fragments of comet Shoemaker-Levy slammed into Jupiter, a comet or asteroid crashes into the giant planet's southern hemisphere. So they already had one
smushed.
It got smushed yet again. So insane. 2011, Juno launches to examine Jupiter's chemistry, atmosphere, interior structure, and magnetosphere, which is the one that we talked about in the first half. And Juno is still currently active. So in 2016, it arrived on Jupiter, started to conduct its in-depth investigation of the atmosphere, that structure, and its magnetosphere, and also sent back clues for its origin and overall evolution. And it's still happening as far as I'm aware. I don't know its longevity.
Okay.
at this point. But that it just says current missions or active missions, and Juno is the only one, really. The other ones
Nice.
are the thing is the other pieces are, as far as I could gather on the website, a lot of like Pioneer and Voyager. Those were sent as flybys almost because they were on their way to something else for a different mission further out, but they
Gotcha.
sent back what they could and then kept going. Or it got yeeted back to the sun.
Right.
Really aggressively.
Just right back to front, like past Earth, and just was like, nope.
From whence you came and then beyond. Jupiter did not care.
No.
So yeah, that concludes Jupiter. Hope you enjoyed the ride. It was a lot, and it still stinks in here.
Wild. Just wild. I'm still stuck on the hydrogen
I know.
ocean situation.
Yeah, the chemical balance, or imbalance, should I say, is just insane to think about.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had a lot of fun with this one. I liked the other ones, but I feel like now we're getting into like the really interesting makeups.
Yeah. The
It's not just-
core
right,
ones.
Which
Yeah.
is not to say that the other planets aren't interesting, because they all have interesting information. We know so much about Mars, but this is insane.
But like low key, they're
Mm.
just like rocks that are similar to our rock.
Fair.
And we want things that are a little weird
I want a thick hydrogen water gas bomb.
with a magnetosphere that yeets things away from the planet.
I want it to have rings. I want it to have like 80. This is like some child just came in and like made up Jupiter.
Oh, yeah.
It just gave
Oh,
it
yeah.
all the accessories.
That's right.
Well, anyway, if you'd like to suggest anything to us, or if you'd like to provide feedback, you can always do that at our many ways of contact. One of which, if you're unaware, is our Gmail. That's mediocrecontentpodcast@gmail.com. You can also send us a tweet at Mediocre Squawks. Also hit us up on Instagram at Mediocre Content Podcast. And just to plug it one more freaking time, connect with us over on Twitch. You got 2
Yes.
days to make your Twitch account to come hang out with us on our second stream pod. And again, that was June 15th. So jump on it and then hang with us bi-weekly on those Thursdays, 6 p.m. EST, 3 p.m. PST. And don't forget to rate us 5 stars anywhere you listen to podcasts. We really appreciate it.
Don't forget to tell us how fabulous we are all the time.
Because we know, but we like to hear about it.
We do.
Anything else for you, Blair, before we throw them over to next week?
I don't think so. I hope you guys enjoyed this pod, and we'll hopefully see you on Thursday.
Yeah, so excited. See you guys then, I guess.
Cheers.
Cheers.